In this video, Ph.D. David Jacobs, Planetary Acquisition of Earth through Alien Abductions and Human Hybrids, Systematic and Intergenerational Operation to Colonize Earth. Beings that look like insectoids run the operation. Abductee Rosie, operated on and had eggs harvested. Abducted countless times to facilities in spaceships. She felt like a guinea pig, saw insectoids, greys and other beings. Abductee Marie Kayali saw hundreds of spaceships, some the size of cities. A voice said abduction procedure is for the new Earth. Shown images of Earth destroyed and covered with black goo. Abductee Hillary Porter dragged by reptilian to craft. Egg extracted. She said abductions are to get reproductive material and to birth half-human hybrids. The hybrids are amongst us already. Zulu Shaman and Abductee Credo Mutwa. Abducted in 1959 at Nyangani Mountain in Zimbabwe. Missing for 4 days. Paralyzed, prodded, and his sperm was extracted through device. Then he had nonconsensual forced intercourse in which he ejaculated into a human hybrid that had a tail and pointed ears. He saw beings with horrible smell. He received visual imagery into his mind of a decaying and destroyed Earth. He saw hybrid experiments floating in liquid in large cylinders of glass. Saw many other abducted humans going through the same procedure. His mind was altered and he later exhibited skills and interests that he never had. Met hundreds of abducted, impregnated women in South Africa. He was told by a shaman mentor that he was chosen by the gods as a living sacrifice, so therefore he shouldn't try to understand the abduction.
The abduction phenomenon is clandestine. And the way it is clandestine is that the way the secrecy prevails is that first and foremost, the abductees are not allowed to remember what happened to them, obviously. And so when they do remember, it's not a full memory. It's in bits and pieces of memories. It's got dream material in it. It has material of maybe perhaps some popular culture in it, and it's severely truncated usually. And sometimes people say things that literally never happened, using hypnosis to find out what did happen. And in fact, nothing happened that they said. They were abducted. But all abductions, all of them that I have looked at, are physical. People are physically missing from their normal environments. They might be missing for 2 or 3 hours where people search for them and call them and they're not there, and there's an emergency call that they missed and this and that. And parents have searched for their children and children have searched for their parents. This is common. Therefore, they are taken when they are missed the least. That means that they're not taken out of work, because that would be damaging in a sense. They're not taken when they're in the middle of a party, although sometimes that happens. Wander into the backyard and don't come back for a couple hours. They're oftentimes taken at night when they're alone. They don't have to be asleep. It's not sleep paralysis, has nothing to do with it, anything that has to do with sleep. But that's when they'll be missed the least. And so the clandestine nature of it prevents people from knowing. I'm going to throw out an erroneous number. I'm going to say maybe 90% of people who are abductees do not know that they are abductees.
How does that work?
Well, they have had unusual experiences. They might have unusual displacements in time and place. They're doing something at 1 o'clock and then suddenly they're across the street and they're doing something else and it's 3 o'clock. And they think, gosh, that was weird. What happened? And then they think, well, I'm just not going to think about this. And because their abductees are not supposed to remember, and they sort of know that, and they just go about their business, other ones incorporate it into their lives thinking, this is just the way life is. Oddly enough, but I have had that. Now, people see other people being abducted and are not abducted themselves. People are abducted in groups and can confirm each other's abductions. People can sometimes, and this happens, meet other abductees at random, run into them on the street or something like that, and each one recognizes each other from being together on an abduction event. It's rare, but it does happen. And so there's a physicality to this. It's not a mentality.
So what's the difference between that deja vu experience where two abductees are seeing each other
Sessions with
and recognize each other, or someone who's saying, you know what, I resonate with you, maybe I've seen you in a past life kind of thing. How do we distinguish between that and the abduction experience?
It's difficult to distinguish between people who think they have past lives or they've seen people on a higher plane of intellect or emotion or consciousness or whatever, unless you do hypnosis. By looking at people over decades, I can see change in time, I can recognize differences that are happening, I can see the progression of the phenomenon, and I've been extremely fortunate to be able to do that. There's obviously a trajectory to the abduction phenomenon. It is not an examination of people. These aliens are not interested in what makes us tick. We used to think this years ago. I used to think this years ago.
What do you think now?
This turns out to be a program with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it is goal-directed. And what we're looking at here is a workforce that is abducting people and, how can I just say this straight out, creating other beings who we call hybrids, who are different stages of hybrids, although it's probably more of a smooth continuum than my stage idea, of early stage hybrids who look sort of like gray aliens, and middle stage and late stage and human stage, and then what I call hybrid, who are beings who, and this is new information, who are being trained to live here, and their training comes from abductees.
You've had the opportunity to observe a lot of patterns and a lot of information. Have you grasped an agenda by these ET connections?
There are three pillars to the abduction phenomenon. There's actually a fourth one, but I'm not including it because it's not as, well, I'm not including it. Number one, it's intergenerational. If a person is an abductee, their mother or their father, or sometimes both, were abductees. If they were abductees, almost certainly their mother or father was an abductee. When the abductee has children, and let's just say has 2 kids, they will be abductees. And when they marry a non-abductee, all of their children, the 2 kids' children, if they each have 2 each, that's 4, they will all be abductees. Therefore, the intergenerational aspect of it makes sure that there are plenty of abductees around. It keeps up with the population. And the second pillar is that it is global. This is not an American phenomenon. The UFO phenomenon has been noted around the world, and the UFO phenomenon is the abduction phenomenon. It is. They are one and the same, in my opinion. The third pillar is that it is clandestine. And the only way you can, in the thread I wrote a long piece about the meaning of secrecy and how this has to be kept secret and that has to be kept secret and this and on, all the ramifications of non-secrecy and all that. It boils down to one sentence. They don't want us to know what they're doing. Global, intergenerational, secret. This does not add up to good. I don't see good in these 3 aspects of it. I can't be happy about it. So, because of the global nature, because of the clandestine nature, and because it keeps up with a booming human population. When I was born, there were 2.3 billion people on Earth. Now, I'm 73, there are 7.4 billion people on Earth in my lifetime. It's extraordinary. But the requisite number of abductees remains constant. If not, there are more than is needed now. So, when I say, what is the meaning of all this? Why are they doing this? I can boil it down to 2 words, and it's a guess. Because these beings do not say, but all the indications point to something I just call, in grandiose terms, planetary acquisition.
That's a fantastic summary of a very powerful perspective. And there are countless people out there, perhaps more, significantly more people out there who have claimed to have abduction experiences, who will say it is a benevolent connection, a connection they love. They feel more comfortable with their family of ETs out there than they do with their family down here or their friends down here. What is that then?
They have bleed-through memories that are benevolent and wonderful and great. And for me, the way people process this in a lot of different ways, depending on their background and all. And I'm not in the life-ruining business. So if they want to think that, fine, that's fine with me. I usually don't see people who have that kind of a sense of this. I see people who really want to know what exactly is happening to them. I once had a woman who was heavily into that concept of benevolence and spirituality and all that, and related to aliens from another planet. And she came to me, and we'd agreed to do whatever session. And she was taken on board. Her clothes removed. This happened to her. That happened to her. This happened to her. That happened to her. And I'm just saying, okay, what happens next? And I ask them questions about what the next is, and then what happens next, and went on and on and on and on until she came back down, and that was it. She wrote me a letter after that saying that she was never coming back to me because she didn't want to remember the things she wanted to remember. And I wasn't leading her on. She could have remembered anything she wanted as far as I was concerned. But
let me say something to what you were saying, which I think a lot of people would react strongly hearing what you said, that unless they came to a real bona fide therapist who could validate the experience or not. If someone says, I experienced something within, how could anyone externally say to you, no, you did not?
Right. Well, I'm not going to say that. I mean, I would not say that whatever happened to them didn't happen. But if they're interested in finding out whether it actually did happen or not, the chances are that it would be a different situation for them. But if they're happy and good, as I said, there's no reason for them to come to me or to other serious researchers. They have a life that they're leading, they're happy about. That's fine.
As I said, I know significantly more who talk about experiences in their sleep on another dimension. What's your experience with that, and what do you say to those people?
I have never actually dealt with a person who came to me who had a non-physical experience. That is simply not part of the phenomenon. People are physically missing from their normal environments when they are abducted. They are not mentally missing, and other people see them in bed and all the rest of that stuff or whatever. That simply, I have never had that. That does not happen.
We're dealing with millions upon millions of people who are describing this phenomenon. What is it then?
Planetary acquisition through creation of human-like hybrids. In other words, from the very beginning of our knowledge of the abduction phenomenon, the Antonio Villas-Boas case in 1957 in Brazil, Villas-Boas was taken on board a UFO. He was an illiterate Brazilian peasant. We learned later he wasn't an illiterate person. We all assumed that, but he was a law student who became an attorney. He claimed he was taken on board a UFO, and this happened to him, that happened to him, this happened to him, and that happened. Then he was placed into a room with this beautiful-looking, sort of human female, and he was required to have sexual intercourse with her. Then the very next case we discovered, the Barney and Betty Hill case in 1961, they took him, this is in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, they took him into a UFO, they did this to him and that to him, they took a sperm sample from Barney, and they injected a needle into Betty's navel, and she thought it might be a pregnancy test or whatever it is. Those two cases, which we did not recognize correctly, both had reproductive elements to them.
What do you mean we did not recognize them correctly?
Well, we knew that Barney had had a sperm sample, but we just thought it was an examination, just to see what things are like. If that, we couldn't think about these cases. There wasn't enough knowledge to even think about these. So it doesn't mean anything. You can't think correctly about them.
How should we be thinking, or what are you referring to now then?
Well, virtually every abductee has had, if it's a male, has had sperm taken from them, and every woman has had eggs taken from them, ova. This is a reproductively oriented phenomenon, and it has been since the beginning. What they do is they take the sperm and eggs, they put them into a container, let's call it a petri dish, and I don't know the backstory here, and they alter the sperm and egg, fertilized, they alter it, and now I'm going to say something that is probably not true, but makes some sort of sense. With alien DNA, I do not know whether they put alien DNA in it, and I do not know whether aliens have DNA. So, but well, for the purposes of argument, we'll say that. They then take the zygote and implant it in the woman. At 10 or between 10 and 12 weeks, before she really begins to show at all, they remove it. And they place the fetus into a nutrient tank, of which there might be 100 nutrient tanks lined up in a room, or 50, or sometimes even more than 100. And from that, when they take the baby out, the baby looks either very human, but somewhat hybridy, but somewhat alien-y, or half and half, or more human than alien, or much more human than alien, or even human and not alien. And I have different stages that I've thought about, but it's probably more of a smooth continuum. And the question is, why are they doing that? Because from the very first cases we ever discovered, there was that reproductive aspect to it, and it has remained rigidly constant throughout the decades. Absolutely. Now, the latest information is that these beings are, in fact, that the ones who look truly human and who are human and who look absolutely average are moving into towns, into apartments, between the ages of 17 and around 23 or so, in 2s and 3s and sometimes in 4s. And some of them are moving in independently into an apartment. They are using abductees to help them assimilate themselves into what normal human society is. Now there's a backstory to this too as well, what happens when they're children and all that. And there's only one very slight, hardly noticeable difference between them and us. They can control us neurologically, make us think anything that they want us to think, make us say anything they want us to say, make us do anything they want us to do, and we cannot do that to them. That makes us a second-class species, not a citizen, but a species, and them a first-class species. There's an enormous imbalance there that is insurmountable. That's the problem. That is the problem. This is a workforce we're looking at, from a top to bottom corporate workforce. Gray aliens are probably hybrids, in my opinion. The ones who are the leaders are what we call the insect-like ones. Whether they have anything to do with insects, I don't know, but they have triangular heads and they're very thin. People say they look like praying mantises. But I think they are the ones who give orders and everybody else takes orders. And the more you look at this, the more rational it becomes. It's a rational program. It's not like this is so bizarre we can't even get our minds around it. It is not like that. We are capable of understanding what is happening. And so even though there are millions of people who think that this is benevolent and wonderful, which is okay, there are millions of people who are not so sure about that, who are abductees also.
Thank you, Dr. Jacob.
Thank you.
Seem like they're very tall, like maybe 7 feet tall, very broad shoulders, very long arms, quite hunched over, mantis beings, and being on the table and seeing them putting their hands inside of my stomach. It just feels like something being taken, and feeling that burning sensation. It's just terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. My experiences started, I guess, when I was little, and I had no idea what was going on. And it was basically waking up in the middle of the night with something in my room and not knowing what it was. And I didn't understand a lot of it. And I guess what had happened as an adult, and it happened mostly, I guess, in the last, probably since I moved to that's when it happened the most, where it was almost like a weekly thing or a monthly thing, where I would wake up and there's something in my room, and then all of a sudden it's almost like fear. It's like you're frozen, and people are like, oh, well, why didn't you look around and see what's on the walls, and why don't you make notes, or do you see any writing? It's like when you're terrified, that's the last thing you want to do is, oh, I think I'm going to make some notes. You're just like praying that you're not going to be killed or die, or what's going on. This is so unusual. So what was happening to me was I would wake up, I would see something in my room, and then I would feel this pull, and then I would be on like a metal table, and I would have there like two, usually three, but 2 or 3 beings in the room looking at me. They weren't speaking, and I didn't know what was going on. So there would be instances where I would be on the table, and something was being inserted into me, and you can feel it all. You can feel the pain. So you're trying, it's like you're paralyzed. You want to scream because you can feel absolutely everything that's going on in your body, but you can't move. So then it's like you almost like pass out from the pain, but then you come to and you're still in this. So that's what happened with me. So all of a sudden you kind of feel this push, like, and then you're back in your bed and you're like, what just happened? And a couple weeks later, waking up, something in the room, and then feeling that pull, and then being on a table, and then something kind of going down your throat, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I can't breathe. I'm panicking. And it's just like, you're helpless. You can't move, but you're just shaking from fear, and I'm going to die. This is it. I'm going to die. But I hear in my head, you signed up for this. This is something that you're here to do. And that means nothing to me. All I know is I just want to be home. So it's, you think you're about to take your last breath, and then you can breathe, and then you're back. I'm back in my room. And another time, waking up, and same thing, something's in my room. I'm on this table. There's lots of light. They don't appear to be very tall, but then people are like, well, how high is the table? I'm like, I have no idea how high the table is. What are you telling? Like, that's not anything I'm looking for. So being on the table and seeing them putting their hands inside of my stomach, like I can see their hands, and then I don't see anything else. And feeling that burning sensation. So that is the type of thing that has been happening over the years. That's been going on for years. So I was explaining when I was at the conference 2 years ago that the last time I remember getting up in the morning, and my sheets, I always have like white sheets, and getting into bed, and I've got my pajamas on, and I see this stuff on my sheets, and it looks like it's green. It's like a smoothie, like if you had a kale smoothie or something. It's that kind of a mossy kind of green, but it looks like if you were to take a paintbrush and flick it, like it's just kind of flecks in the bed. And I'm like what's going on? So of course I'm checking my pajamas, and I don't see anything. And then it's like, okay, don't have my period this month, don't have my period this month, don't have my period this month. And then like after 3 months, waking up, something is in my room, waking up on this table, and feeling something again going internally. So you can feel it going, I say internally because I didn't want to say vagina and I didn't want to say anus, but it's like you can feel something going inside of you. And then it's like this, it just feels like something being taken. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the type of thing I've been experiencing. So waking up a lot of the times with bruises or marks on my body. And again, I don't tell anybody this. I don't share this with anybody. I don't want people to know that this is going on in my life. And there isn't anyone that I really share this stuff with, other than, I did meet some really nice people at the conference who seem like nice people that I was able to share this with and kind of open up with. So why am I saying this today? I have no idea. But these are the type of things that have been happening. And like I would wake up and in the morning, like have this like a triangle on my chest, and it would last for weeks. And I'm like, okay, is it eczema? Is it an allergic reaction? But it would last for weeks, and I would put cream on it and it just didn't go away. And then wake up one day and it's completely gone. And those are kind of the things that have been happening. I will be driving and it will be broad daylight, and I'll look up and something's hovering over my car, and I'll be looking around going, okay, I'm in traffic. There's a lane here. There's a lane here. We're all stopped at the light. Why am I the only one seeing this? There are flashing lights on this thing, very, very colorful. How am I the only one who is seeing this? And I remember calling my ex, who isn't into this at all, but I was so terrified. I just called him up. I'm like, have you heard anything about UFO things or whatever? And he had said at the time, actually, I heard something was happening in Montreal. And this was probably about 7 years ago when this started happening. So now a lot of the times when I wake up, they're not experimenting or doing things to my body that I can remember. But I will wake up and I'm on a ship, but it's like a small ship, and it looks like it's, maybe enough for 3 people. I'm usually in the back, and there's usually 1 or 2 in the front, and I feel like I'm going to a bigger ship. And what I can see in the sky is these ships look like they're all kind of interconnected, and they're like a slate color, and they're the size of cities. They're huge. And I'm like, how come people can't see? I don't understand why people can't see this. I can't be the only one seeing this in broad daylight. So those are the kind of things I'm seeing, and I'm looking around thinking, am I losing my mind? Am I crazy? I don't investigate it. I don't read about it. I just kind of hope it goes away. It doesn't go away. And so that's kind of the type of things that I experience on a regular basis. And about 3 weeks ago, I was saying earlier, I went to bed, and before I go to bed, I do yoga all the time. So it's like before I go to bed, put cream on my feet, put my socks on, get up in the morning, and it's like, okay, those marks were not on my feet when I went to bed. I know what my feet look like. They were not there. And I can show you pictures of those. I have those on my phone. And again, it's like, what's going on? But there's always that feeling of waking up and something is in the room. And there are different types of beings that I see. Again, I don't investigate. I don't look around. I don't go on the internet going, oh, what does this look like? And I think I'm just kind of like, okay, maybe today it'll go away. Maybe today's the day it's going to stop. But it started, again, I remember as a child having weird experiences, but not knowing what it was. And then when I moved here, it would be like once every 6 months, and then once a month, and then 2 or 3 times a day, and then almost daily, and then it would stop for 6-7 months, and then it would start up again. And it recently started up probably maybe 3 months ago, and it's 2 or 3 times a week. They look like when you see on TV they look like grays, but to me they have large almond-shaped eyes, but they're not completely black. I could tell that there are eyes, very tiny noses, very tiny mouths. But again, when you see drawings, they have this little sliver of a mouth that looks sinister, but to me they don't look sinister. Other ones that I have seen seem like they're very tall, like maybe 7 feet tall, and they kind of look like very broad shoulders, very long arms, quite hunched over. Other things I've seen are little ones that they look like they have like a burlap type of cover on them. You can't see any face, it's completely blacked out, but 2 little red eyes. Again, they don't seem scary to me. When I was at the conference, I did talk to Sid, and he did tell me about mantis beings, and I'm like, okay, do they look like this? And I described what I was seeing, how they look, and he said that's similar to what he had seen. And being on different ships and different environments, things like that. What else can I say regarding... I can tell you something interesting that happened at the conference when I was speaking. After the conference, I spoke, and a lady came up to me, and she's like, you know, what does your name mean? And I'm like, actually, it's just a nickname. It's just something my parents called me because my full name was too long. And she said, I remember you. And she told me that she was having experiences in her 40s, and then it stopped. But she said she had experienced these things for many years. And she said to me, I remember you from the ship. And I'm like, well, I had never told anybody what it looked like on the ship. So she was describing what she had seen while she was on a ship. And I'm like, okay, I've never told anybody. I never described what the inside of it looked like. So she said, I remember you as a child crying, and I remember picking you up and soothing you, going, it's okay. It's okay. And she said when her kids would cry, her husband would say to her, like, what is this sound? Like, why are you saying this? And her husband wasn't a believer, but he supported her. So she said, that's how I soothed my kids. When I would pick them up, I would just go. And I can't remember the lady's name. And it was just like she spoke to me after the conference and introduced me to her husband. And I'm like, I never told anybody that. So that was a pretty interesting thing to go, okay, I'm not crazy. She remembers me. She remembers my name. She described the inside of the ship that I didn't tell anybody at the conference about. So that was something pretty cool that I was like, okay, validation. So yeah, sometimes I just feel like a guinea pig, an experiment. I get angry. I get frustrated because I don't understand why it's happening to me. It's like, okay, if you're coming here to do things to me, maybe you can give me something good. Maybe something positive can come out of this, like turn around my health or something. I have no idea why. So, but I just keep hearing that I signed up for this, whatever that's supposed to mean. I don't know. I don't know. They don't seem sinister or mean or evil. I don't have anything negative to say other than, why is this happening to me? I remember how it feels. I know that it's painful. I know that it's scary. People say, why did you, like I said, take notes or look around or see any drawing? No, I'm just wanting to go home. I don't want to be here. It hurts. And I'm scared. I never feel it when I get back into my room. It's always while I'm there on the table that I feel it. And there's no numbing. There's no, let's give you something so you don't feel the pain or calm you down. It's just like, just get right in there. It's just very, I wouldn't say aggressive, but there's no kindness. There's no gentleness. It's just get in, get out. And it does seem like an experiment. It does feel like you're experimenting on a human the way humans would experiment on animals. It just seems very cold and very cruel. And I have no idea why me. And I know from talking to Sid, he had said that there are like about 1.5 million people who have experiences. So why are we going through this? Why is this happening to us? And that's it. Too scared. It's just terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And like I say, on a good day, I don't like to be around people. I am a people person, but I tend to kind of hibernate and cocoon because you pick up a lot of energy around people. But I have no idea what that means. I just want to be home. I just want to be safe. I don't want it to happen, but again, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories out there that I'm sure people may have stories or why it's happening. I don't know. I just want it to stop and just continue with my regular life.
Let me go back to the question of abduction and ask, to what extent does the abduction phenomenon entail environmental element? I looked at a number of abduction cases which had implications for environmental crisis, and according to the degree of its relevance, I have categorized them into two types. One, the observer communicative type, and two, the participatory instructive type. Let me explain main features of these two types. The first one is the observer communicative type. This one involves communication about the present or future condition of the planet, And the main purpose on the part of aliens appears to be to communicate about impending critical condition of the Earth, and yet without specifically mentioning what the danger involves, what causes it, or what to do about it. Abductees are shown various images of the Earth in holograms or on flat screen monitors. They see trees lay fallen on barren lands, forests are totally devastated, bodies of animals and humans are strewn about, or strange chemical and industrial materials cover the Earth's surface. Just to show one example, let me play a video clip of an Amashi experiencer, Marie Kayali.
I know there were two standing behind me. I could feel one here and one here. And they felt quite tall. They didn't feel small. I could feel the presence. I could feel them. And they were probably a foot or two taller than me. And when I was in this place, it was all white. All I could see, for as far as my eyes could see, were little plants, all in little pots. Millions of them, rows and rows and rows of plants going on for, you know, as far as I could see, you know, into the distance. So I don't know how big this place was, or...
Were they all kinds of different plants?
No, they're all exactly the same.
Oh,
all
right.
all about a foot high, all exactly the same. And as I was looking down, I did see there were some little beings, but they weren't people or anything, or they're tiny little things like this, like not much bigger than the plants, but really thin, and like those tiny little
like
monkeys.
18 inches or 2 feet tall, perhaps.
Well, yeah,
What's that? Is that about 2 foot? Yeah.
Well, they just looked dark, and I couldn't see features. They were just sort of shadows mainly, because they were quite far away. I just saw them. They were small. And I just heard a voice in my head. And I know it was the one on this side that spoke. And it was a man's voice in English, I remember. And he just said, you can ask 2 questions. So, of course, I said, well, what's with all these plants here and what's going on? And the answer was, these are for the new planet Earth. And that was all, nothing else. These are for the new planet Earth. And next of all, I remember we carried on walking. I don't even remember if I was walking, because I don't remember a floor. I don't know if I was floating. But I remember, I mean, I wasn't in my right mind, because I know I would have asked a lot more questions or looked around. But it was either I was totally at ease and didn't need to ask, because I already knew, or they have you under some sort of control that you can't actually ask. I think probably that's...
So did you find yourself going down by these plants, or did you go elsewhere in the ship?
We just carried on walking, and we walked this way, and the plants were sort of going that way, but I didn't, as I was walking down, we didn't pass the plants, so I assumed we went another direction. But it looked the same. It was still all white and still looked the same.
When they said to you about this, the new Earth, did that seem kind of normal?
It seemed very normal to me. I said, oh, okay, you know, that kind of, not like, well,
as
what's the new Earth?
As if you already had information.
Yeah, as if I already knew, and it was totally acceptable, and it's for the new Earth, and, oh, okay, because I know in my right mind I would have said, well, what's the new Earth? Tell me more information. I want to know, I want to know. And I would have really asked, but you don't... you can't do that.
No, it didn't occur to you.
You can't. Well, it's not that it doesn't occur to you. You can't.
All right.
It's like you can't speak. Basically, you can't interact the way you would normally on a realistic level like this. So either they have you under some sort of trance or hypnosis, or you don't need to ask because you already know everything, and it's So they're the 2 options I'm left with. So I don't know.
And what about the second question?
Second question, we carried on, and I just remember then there was people everywhere, but people they weren't like the rows of plants, they were in rows, long ways, like this. And I don't know how far they went up, I didn't look, but I just remember the people next to me, in front of me.
Yes.
And I have their faces embedded in my mind. I can describe what they were wearing even.
Again, would you call them human?
Yeah, they were just like us. They were normal people. They were normal people, all wearing different clothes. Some were wearing, you know, long nighty kind of things. Maybe they were abductees, I don't know, but they were definitely humans. And none of them were talking. It was completely silent. And they were just they seemed to be just all standing there looking straight ahead. And as I came up closer to this, I remember the one lady She had long hair and a long white sort of gown to probably about here. So I remember her distinctly because I was right next to her. And as I came up behind her, I saw she was looking at a screen.
Uh-huh.
The screen was just, I mean, it wasn't attached to anything, and you couldn't see it from different angles. I could see it.
So were there lots of little
they were all,
screens?
yeah, they
all
were all
individual
They were all
screens?
looking at screens.
All individual ones?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Tiny,
Wow.
like probably...
Like on Virgin Atlantic?
Maybe, yeah, like a 14-inch, but they weren't even physical things because you couldn't see them from up there, and I couldn't see them
Almost
from...
like a holographic...
Could have been like a hologram, yeah. Could you see it? And I looked at the screen over this lady's shoulder, and the image, they were all being shown images. I don't know if they were all the same, but the one I saw was just beautiful pictures of the earth, you know, sea, fish jumping up, and lovely mountains and things like that. And it just sort of, like a black, just went across the screen, and it changed to just a horrible, horrible, horrible sight. I'll never forget it as long as I live. It was like this black, gungy stuff had come up out of the ground, and it wasn't like
like oil, or
it was like
an oil,
but like quicksand as well in a way,
right.
and horrible stuff. And it covered, like, everything was covered in it, and it covered even the sea. It was like the fish, everything was dead. I could see all dead things. I could see legs sticking up out of this thing, like hooves, you know, like some animals with hooves.
Kind of black, fluidic, intelligent energy?
No, it was actual physical. It was like the earth had
Like
been.
the globe, the movie The Globe?
No, this was it was like you know when you get a volcano and it just covers everything and it's all like flowing and everywhere.
So it was just,
but it was black.
The earth was being consumed.
It was coming up. Yeah, it was coming up.
Like crude oil.
Yeah, it was coming up out of the earth, and it seemed to have killed everything, as far as I could see.
Was this in a dream or the abduction?
No, this was on what I saw on the ship. What these people were looking at on the screen.
So this was the small screen that
Yeah.
this lady
Were there
who's...
black entities, tendrilic life forms, anything that lived, or sea creature type stuff?
No, I didn't see anything like that. It just looked like there was horrible black sludge that had killed everything on Earth. All the plants were dead, and animals were dead, and fish were dead, and so it was like it was just everything went grey and black, and all the beauty was gone. You know, the sun was gone, and the trees were gone, and things like that. It was just horrible.
Did that...
Devastated.
Like the film Yellow Submarine, where the blue meanies, the blue essence comes and destroys everything. No?
I don't know, I didn't see that. I didn't see it coming. It was already there, but it was like, you know,
bubbling
up, and it seemed to be coming out of the earth, and it covered everything that I could see in front of me.
And was there anything else after that you saw on the screen that you remember?
Well, that's all I remember seeing, and
Yeah.
then I heard the voice saying, "You can ask your second question," and I said, "Well, what's happening with all these people? What are they doing here?" And the answer was, "They're being categorized," and that's all it said. They're being categorized.
What are aliens doing here? One feature that stands out is educating abductees about the damages done to the Earth. The image of the damaged Earth is shown not only to individuals, but also to a group of people, sometimes to a group of hundreds, many hundreds, in a setting of large visual, something like a computer workshop. The other feature is that aliens are doing this without instructive messages, specifically related to the images being shown. They just let the abductees see the image and leave what to make out of it just to the abductees themselves. The second type, there are some more things to talk about type 1, but I'll just skip over to second type, which is the participatory instructive type. Here, aliens specifically direct the abductees' attention to environmental problems. They mention clearly a possible catastrophe or directly involve the abductees in the process of educating others. One of the most important cases belonging to this category is the incident at Ariel Primary School in the village of Ruwa in Zimbabwe. I'm sure you have seen this is a very famous case, so many of you have already seen this video clip. On 14 September 1994, 62 children of this school saw an alien spaceship landing near to their school ground. 2 aliens were seen standing on the spaceship or hovering above it, and one of the children got a kind of telepathic message from the aliens. And this is from John Mack's interview with the girl, and I'll just shortly play it here, about 2 minutes.
The noise that we heard in the air.
You heard a noise in the air? What was it like? Like a roar or a buzz or a hum, or what kind of a noise?
It was like someone was blowing a flute. Little object hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there were little ones all around it. We saw something silver, and then we quickly ran to the logs, and we saw a silver thing, and we saw a man standing next to it.
What was it? What did it feel like when he was looking at you?
I felt scared.
It felt scared? What was scary about it?
Well, I felt scared because I've never seen such a person like that before.
Did you see the eyes? What did they look like?
They were going like that. No, more circular. And this was all black in here.
All black. Now you made pupils. Did they actually have pupils or
white?
What?
The pupils were white like that.
You saw white in the center?
Yes, like that. They were telling us the world's going to end.
Well, why do you think they might want us to be scared?
Because because we don't look after the planet the area properly.
And Lily, is this an idea that you have had before, that we don't look after the planet properly in the air, or did this idea come to you when you had this experience?
When I had this experience. It was like the world, all the trees will just go down and there will be no air and people will be dying.
And those thoughts came to you, had you had those thoughts before this experience?
No.
No. And how did those thoughts come to you? Did they come to you from the craft or from...
From the man.
The man. And did the man say those things to you? How did he get that across to you?
Well, he never said anything. It's just that the face is the eyes.
What was the sense you got from those eyes?
He was interested.
The girl here is saying maybe the world is going to end because we don't look after the planet and the air properly. All the trees go down and there will be no air. People will be dying. I tend to take this incident rather seriously. The reported incident has the least element of a hoax, and the aliens do not seem to have any ulterior motive in turning up to the school children and communicating to them. The message is quite clear, without anything cryptic or symbolically codified in. Literally is about the impending collapse of the Earth's ecological system. And what scientists did in many pages of numbers and diagrams, the aliens did in a few words. Basically, they're saying your race, together with other life forms, could perish with the evaporation of breathable air as a result of your carelessness. I said abductions belong to either category 1 or category 2, depending on the degree that the way that aliens convey environmentally significant messages. But what about the cases which appear to harbor no environmentally significant elements? These cases carry all the marks typical to alien abduction, and yet devoid of any ecologically significant episodes. And since this category constitutes another big portion of abduction reports, perhaps some might argue that environmental crisis is not really on aliens' agenda. But there is a caveat in saying this, however. It is highly possible that some talks about the physical condition of the planet occurred during abduction, but only the memory was lost. This could be either due to deliberate suppression of the memory by aliens, or perhaps the abductees' inability to overcome traumatic experience and the consequent suppression of the whole abduction process. In fact, some abductees recall ecologically significant episodes at a much later stage in their life. In addition, even if they don't have any conscious memory, many abductees subsequently become acutely interested in environmental issues, and sometimes they actively participate in environmental protection movements. So undoubtedly it is in the first and second categories cases that aliens show more environmental specific concerns, and yet we cannot exclude the possibility that even the cases apparently without any direct relevance could in fact entail environmental elements.
This is drawn by a little child who had had apparently abduction experiences, and he made this drawing for his mother, which showed, as he explained to his mother, he was quite young, as you can see by the drawing, it showed a figure with a very big eye. That was his, as if he's drawing a profile, big head and huge eye. And on the table was another little child who he knew from the neighborhood. They remembered this little boy. And they were putting something in the child's eye socket. It's very interesting to me when you get a kind of congruity between an adult description of the apparatus and a child coming up with this. He was intensely frightened by this, and frightened, his mother said he was extremely frightened for a long, long time about his eyes because of what he had seen. Now, in terms of the basic abduction implant situation, one of the things that I find extremely important is that we have implants which seem to be put in place inside the skull. There's no possibility that something got into the hand or the arm or the leg or the foot or something like that by accident. That's out. This is inside the skull. In this particular case, what you can see towards the top on the left is a small metallic object. I've had these x-rays looked at by a friend of mine who's a neurosurgeon. The story behind this is that a couple were in Italy. The father was in the army stationed in Wiesbaden, Germany, and his wife and little girl had all reported very strange experiences. And the little girl was afraid to sleep in a room at night and talked about monsters coming in through the window and one thing and another. There were various little symptoms that were noticeable that suggested she may have had some kind of experience. At any rate, they went to Italy on this little trip, and the little girl had an accident on her bicycle and fell off the bike and banged her head, was taken to the hospital emergency room, and when the x-ray was done to see if she had any kind of a skull fracture, they noticed this little object. Now, the x-rays are taken one from the top down, one from underneath, and one from the side. So you've seen one of the x-rays. This one, instead of coming down like this, is coming up like this. The object you can see is in the eye socket, just under the eye on the left side. So you can locate where it is laterally, at least. Now, the side view shows it very clearly. And the neurosurgeon said to me, these three-dimensional shots can place this thing directly. And he said to me, "Bud, this is a piece of metal in there of some sort. How did it get there?" And what was most interesting is the emergency room people in Italy, I think this might have even been Milan, were extremely curious about this. When the little girl was taken back to her home, temporary home in Wiesbaden, Germany, she was re-x-rayed and there was nothing there. Now, one thing we know is that this has happened again and again. The x-ray shows something present, and then it's not there anymore.
It's gone on as an abductee myself for all my life. I had no memory of it till I had a crisis abduction in '94. And this crisis abduction took me down a timeline, and I'm seeing a small child going into a field, and the camera pans in, and it's me. She's looking at a white disc about 50 feet across on the ground, got no idea what it is. Then suddenly a creature appears. It reminded me of a tortoise. This thing is very strong and it's scaly skinned, and it drags me right across underneath the disc into this tube. It's black in there, you cannot see a thing. You can feel this feeling of rising up, and next thing you know, you're in a round chamber. Then they start ripping my clothes off. They take this instrument and they start digging from my feet into my legs. I have the scar today, you know, still. I don't know how many times I've been abducted. There's been so many I can't count.
When was the last time you were abducted?
Well, all of a sudden I heard, I could see a column of light, and inside that were 3 of the little grey aliens, 3'6". But I was up and out of this chair and up those stairs before you could say any more. Their time is not like our time. They can stretch time because they're interdimensional, and that's how they take us interdimensionally. Your home is not your castle. They set a portal up, you see. They can come through the wall, they can do whatever they bloody well want, and there's nothing you can do about it. What they want from a young female, as soon as she's able to produce eggs, that's what they want. And that's why they take you. They've been doing a breeding thing for many, many, many years. They extract through the navel because they have to put this thing through there, whip that egg out and so on. And the same with men. You know, they want the sperm, then they sort of experiment on you and all sorts of things. You see, what they want is you to mother these half-human hybrid babies. The hybrids are now here, definitely, and amongst us.
If the hybrid project is integral and central to abduction cases, then, well, as David Jacobs and Bud Hawkins argue, and I agree with them, there must be also positive relationship between hybrid project and environmental crisis. It may be more or less assumed that the hybrid project is a response to this impending demise of human civilization. What we do not know at this stage is precisely how the project is a response to this crisis. Or perhaps aliens will never tell us and will never know about it. What they have said so far are only 3 short sentences. This is important, we must do it, we have the right to do so. The last scenario is aliens are producing hybrids as a new species that will repopulate the Earth, but only after the Earth is left deserted for a certain period of time. The hybrids will be brought down to the Earth again when the Earth ecosystem regains ability to support advanced life again. And this scenario improves on the drawbacks of the previous 2 scenarios. But it is not without its own weakness. According to James Hansen, again, it takes 10 years for atmospheric methane to turn into CO2, and about 1/3 of carbon dioxide emission remains in the atmosphere after 100 years, and 1/4 still remain after 500 years. So therefore, it will take several hundred years or even several thousand years until the Earth's ecosystem becomes clean again after the extinction of advanced life forms. But do the hybrids have such a long life expectancy? And where will they be staying while all these things are taking place on the Earth? Spaceships look quite small, and I don't think they will be happy to stay there bumping into each other for an extended period of time. But there are solutions to these problems. While the Earth remains unable to support life, the hybrids can be relocated to another planet and proliferate there. Regardless of their life expectancy, they can maintain a sizable population through reproduction until the time is ripe on the Earth. Moreover, they have half human gene, so what would all the genetic engineering have been about if they are not meant to come back to the Earth? So the third scenario has answers to all these questions. The real weakness is this: why will they go through the hassle of remigration to the Earth when they have happily settled in their own world? I accept that this protest is quite reasonable, and it sounds all the more so given that they have alien genes that undoubtedly will assist them to assimilate to a different planetary environment. We have a very little hint about aliens' intention, and these three scenarios are equally all plausible, or for the same reason, equally implausible. Whichever scenarios you might prefer, they have all one common assumption: the impending demise of human civilization.